All right, peace and blessings to everybody. Hopefully, y'all feeling good. Hopefully, the energy is flowing. I've been dealing with a lot of things over the last couple of months, but I believe that what you speak into existence is comes into existence. The Bible says, "In the beginning was the Word." In Hinduism, they teach that the universe began with the sound of Om. And many traditions, like for instance, in the Dogon tradition, I believe that in order for things to come into being, it's because of a vibration, right? They believe it's because of a vibration, a sound, because sound vibrates. So sound brings things into being. Sound brings things into the world. So what you speak creates a sound, creates a vibration in the universe that creates the things that you want. So I want to speak that nothing but health and abundance in my days coming. Nothing but health and abundance. And I want y'all to speak that same thing to yourself every day. As soon as you wake up and roll out of bed, say nothing but health and abundance. Keep it pushing. Say your prayers, make dua, whatever you do. Get on your knees and thank God, praise Jesus, whatever you do. Talk to the ancestors, whatever you do, and say nothing but peace and abundance. Speak it into being, and it shall be. But what we're going to talk about very, very quickly, and I can keep you up along. We're going to do a meditation. But before we do a meditation, I want to talk about what the meditation is. Now, one day, this is probably about 5 years ago, I was in my 30s still. And I was in my backyard in the house that me and my wife at the time were renting. I'm no longer married, but at that time we were renting a house. East Hartford had this real big backyard. So I used to like to go back out there on a nice sunny day and then walk around and recite my mantra, calm myself down, ease my nerves. And one day I'm sitting in this chair in the sun and I have my hands together like this and I'm doing my meditation. And out of nowhere, this phrase formulated in my mind where I said, I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I said this over and over again for about 20 minutes or so. And then when I stood up, something kind of interesting happened. When I meditated in the past, there will be thoughts in my mind, and I will try to fight the thoughts and clear my mind of the thoughts. And the more you try to fight your thoughts, the more your thoughts are going to pop up with more ridiculous imagery and weird jokes and songs from theme songs from TV shows and songs from commercials and radio songs. Your mind is going to be full of chatter. But when I stood up this time, my mind was totally silent. And so I got up out of the seat and I just walked with my mind completely silent, no noise, no thoughts even, no verbalized thoughts. Total quiet in myself, totally quiet within me, within my spirit, in my mind, down to the core of my being. Silence, stillness. And then right next to my yard, there was a little wooded area, really big wooded area, actually. In that wooded area, there was like a little brook. And there was a little place where I used to sit next to the brook and just let the waters go by. And I remember I sat there and just watched the waters gently just cruise by, mind totally at ease, everything totally still. And I was just amazed at how when my inner self was quiet, everything else got louder. Like the air was more crisp, the sounds were louder, the sounds of the birds singing. It's almost like you could hear the grass growing. That's how sharp my senses were. My perception was increased because my inner self was so still. I wasn't distracting my senses with these wacky inner thoughts. Everything within myself was so calm. And I've given that meditation thoughts over the years and remembered that day over the years. And a couple of questions arose because I really wanted to teach that as a meditation technique to help people. But I know that people are terrified of that phrase. That was one of the things I asked myself. Should I change that phrase? I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. Should I change that phrase? Should I edit the phrase? So instead of saying I renounce my identity, maybe just say that one part, I renounce the illusion of myself. And my mind kept going through all these different variations of what I could do. And I just decided, no, I'm not going to edit it. I'm not going to change it. The reason why I don't want to edit it and change it, I'll explain. Another thing that occurred to me was, how can I keep that sense of calm, that stillness of mind? And I realized that The answer was very simple. For the first question, I didn't have to change anything. I just needed to educate people about why I use that phrase. And the second thing was, once again, doing what I did in that meditation. That's how you keep stillness of mind. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, so many of us have been through tough times in life. So many of us have gone through pain and have gone through really intense trauma. We go through tremendous pain, agony, and trauma, right? But what I noticed what happens with people is that once you have a severe trauma, you shape your entire identity around the trauma. So how you have relationships is influenced by the trauma. How you eat is influenced by the trauma. Decisions that you make is influenced by the trauma. Your friendships are influenced by the trauma. Your beliefs in God are influenced by the trauma. How you eat is influenced by the trauma. The music you listen to is influenced by the trauma. Everything about you just becomes a reflection of the trauma that you've been through, right? Many of us get so used to the trauma that we don't want to let it go. We develop this sort of trauma self that we become attached to. The traumatized version of ourselves becomes like our closest and dearest friend. We become attached to it. We don't want to let it go. We don't want to let this pain go because it defines who we are. And that's the interesting part. We would rather suffer than go through ego death. We would rather suffer than change who we are so that we can ascend to higher levels of understanding and happiness. We want to be happy, but we've become so attached and so in love with our ego self and so in love with our trauma self that we will hold on to trauma as opposed to letting it go because the ego is such a powerful thing. We become attached to it. We don't want to let the ego go. This identity of who we are, our sense of self, we don't want to let it go, even if we don't like ourselves. I remember when I had low self esteem, I didn't even like myself. But when somebody would suggest that I change, I wouldn't change. People would say to me, "Why don't you stop drinking?" No. I knew I was overdoing it. I knew it wasn't good for me. I was having situations every other week where I was doing something embarrassing, wouldn't let it go because it's a part of who I am. And even though I didn't like myself, I had become attached to myself. My ego didn't want to die. The ego was like a living organism, will fight tooth and nail to survive. Your ego will fight to survive. Your ego's not going out without a fight. Your identity is not going out without a fight. Because just like you shape your personality and your sense of self around trauma, your body does the same thing. So when the idea of changing your trauma pops up, your brain, your body resist. The body doesn't want to let go. The brain doesn't want to let go. The ego doesn't want to let go. So you hold on to your trauma self, your traumatized identity. You'll hold on to it, even if it kills you, because you would rather physically die and be physically impaired as opposed to letting go of this little monster who you identify with. You think that it's you. You think this fake identity and this sick personality is your true self. If only you understood how much more your true self is. You are made in the image and likeness of God. You are a piece of the universe. And the breath of God, the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh flows through you. And you are stuck in his love-hate relationship with his fake identity that is determined to see you destroy yourself, determined to drink you into the grave, determined to get you to overdose, determined to get you to destroy all your relationships or destroy yourself through your relationships. You hunger for self abuse. You hunger for abuse from other people. You hunger for the drugs and for the alcohol. You hunger for chaos. You would rather hold on to the very reins of chaos itself and try to ride the dragon as opposed to letting go of this foolish trauma self, this fake identity you created, and just let go so you can live. You would rather, this is most people would rather their fake identity live, even if it means they will die. When you're dead, your fake image of yourself is the only thing that will remain. Your true self, the happy self, the divine self, the godly self, you've never met that before. You've never allowed yourself to become that. And you would rather die in the flesh to let the ego supposedly live beyond you, which it won't. It won't. The ego is not going to live beyond the body. The ego is not the true self. The ego is not the spirit. Once the body is gone, the ego is going to die with it. So no matter how badly you think you're going to hold on to this ego thing, this identity thing, no matter how badly you think you would rather die than change who you are, the ego's going to die and the body's going to die. You'll have nothing. You'll have nothing in this world or the next. And nobody around you who loves you and cares for you will ever know who you truly are. So there's an old saying that when you die, you'll still continue to live as long as people who knew you remember you and speak of you. Imagine how bizarre it is if you were to die and nobody ever knew who you were. That's true death, because nobody's going to be able to speak of who you truly are. Nobody's going to really be able to speak to you or of you, because the only thing they're going to remember is how you behave because of your trauma. They're going to remember the ego illusion. They're going to remember the traumatized self. They're not going to remember you. Let go. It's foolish to hold on to it. It's foolish to try to carry that burden of this fake self. Let it go so you can let go of the trauma. The trauma and the identity have become one and the same. Let go. The drinking and the identity and the trauma are one and the same. Stop drinking. The drugs and the identity and the trauma have become one and the same. Stop using the drugs. Don't argue. Don't debate. You're not going to outsmart anybody. Damn sure ain't going to outsmart me. I see past all that shit. I've been through it. So you can't outsmart me. You can't outwit me. I've been lower than you've been. I've been through worse hells. You can't possibly convince me that by talking a certain way and acting a certain way, you can convince me that what you're doing won't destroy you. It doesn't matter. Don't matter to me if you think you outsmarted me with linguistics and semantics. You're still going to punish yourself and die because of your behavior, because of your beliefs. Let it go so you can move on, so you can find out who and what you truly are. You don't know who and what you truly are because you think all you are is a result of your trauma and your goofy narrative. Fuck your narrative. Fuck your trauma. Why are you holding on to all this pain? It only has value because you think it has value. You can let it go now. You can be free now and find out who you are beyond the pain and the trauma. So when I do a meditation and I say, I renounce my identity, I renounce the illusion of myself, that's going to scare some of you. You're going to think that I'm trying to mind control you, or you're going to think that I'm trying to get you to destroy the good things about you, or try to erase you. No, I just want you to be free from the tyrant of the ego and from the tyrant of this fake identity that you think is who you truly are. That's your trauma self. But there is another self that you have. We are multidimensional creatures. We all have different selves. There's the trauma self, there's the healed self. There's the self that is at peace, there's the chaos self. That's why who was it? Freud said that you have a conscious, a ego, and a subconscious. No, you have a super ego, subconscious. That's the multidimensional self. You have the trauma self, you have the healed self, you have who you are when you feel safe, you have who you are when you feel threatened. You are multidimensional. Kill all of them. Kill all those dimensional selves and become a dimensionless self. Once you're dimensionless, you're infinite. The word for dimensionless is infinite. Get rid of your trauma self. Know your true self. Take a deep, slow breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Deep, slow breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, slow. Now, as you breathe in and out, you notice your body becoming more relaxed. Breathe in through the nose, breathe out. In through the nose and breathe out. Every breath in gives you life and energy. And every breath out, I want you to think, I'm going to let go. Breathe in, life and energy. And then breathe out, let go of the negativity. Breathe in, life and energy. Breathe out the false self. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. Gently, slowly rock back and forth as you recite the mantra. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. I renounce my identity. I renounce the illusion of myself. And the mind is completely still. The body is completely relaxed. The effects of your trauma are in recess while you're here in school, unraveling the mystery of who you truly are. Peace and blessings.